Okay, I think, yes, we're live.
We're
Good evening,
live.
everyone.
Good evening,
All right, so I'm Bruno Albuquerque, and
and I'm Walter Curti.
we're here in and we're the owners, the founders of ELT in Brazil, and we're here for
Yes.
our fourth class on our course on pronunciation. And Walter, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we have a lesson on features of connected speech. We're going to revisit some individual sounds that Bruno mentioned. You mentioned in the previous lessons. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be like super fun. Yes.
So, Walter, the floor is yours.
It's especially fun for us, right? Because we really like this stuff.
Right.
Anyway, well, I guess we shall begin. Yes. Okie dokie. Well, let me just share my screen with you. And here we go. Right. To start this lesson, I want you to bear with me. There are some things that I think we have to mention that we didn't mention in the previous lessons, which are the articulators, the parts of the mouth that are, responsible for the sounds that we produce. They're like your lips, the alveolar, which is the back of your teeth, the tongue itself. And well, when we talk about connected speech, I want you to remember one thing, which is called law of least effort, which means that we're always trying to make the least effort to work with the articulators in order to produce the sounds in the easiest way possible. And because of that, these things will happen. Let's take a look. Well, this first rule, I'm not going to give you the name yet for that. It's not a rule. I shouldn't call it that. But this first one, it is something that you can actually see in these two words. So because you have a P sound over here, which is a bilabial sound, you must close your lips when you produce it. And then you have an M, which is also a bilabial sound. So impolite, right? You close your mouth, both sounds are bilabial. But in the next one, you have this T sound, which is an alveolar, the back of the teeth, T, T. And then you produce an N sound. So in here, all fine. The word is spelled that way. So we have no problem. But if you take a look in here and you take a look at these two sentences. So let's read the sentences. We'll have 10 presentations this year. We'll have 10 presentations this year. Something happens here, right? So I'm going to go back. In there you could see, because of the spelling, we call this assimilation. Assimilation means that because of one sound, another sound is going to be assimilated. It's going to change in order to make that the change of phonemes easier. So going back to that sentence, we'll have 10 presentations. When you say that sentence, okay, the word 10 is, if you write it, if you transcribe it phonetically, you would write it like that. 10, you have an N sound, right? But because of this P over here, this is not what's going to happen. What happens is we'll have 10 presentations, 10 presentations. So it becomes 10 presentations. I'm not going to write the whole thing, I'm not going to transcribe the entire sentence. But as you can see, the N became an M sound because of the P. Bilabial. And now you have a bilabial there too. So it's actually fairly easy if you think about it. In the next sentence, you will have the same rule. Bucks, B, also bilabial sound, right? So 10 bucks, M sound again. I'm sorry about my my handwriting. It's not pretty, is it, Bruno?
Oh,
Anyway,
it's quite all right, and I love this feature that you're using to write
uh,
on the screen. It's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is a lot of
What
fun.
I like about
Mm,
this connected speech thing, it's that as you mentioned, is the rule of least effort, and as we talked about in the previous session, it's very physical. So
absolutely.
if you think of $10, I think it's shorter, right? Presentations.
Mhm.
Um, so if you say you know that you're going to say $10, but you stop before you say the word bucks, you see that your lips are already sealed, and that's an M
Absolutely.
sound. So if
Yes.
you go tem, your lips are already closed. You're
It is
producing an M in preparation for the bucks. It's
it is physically impossible to say $10 without closing your lips.
definitely.
You must
Yeah.
touch your lips.
Mhm.
But I have to tell you that this is not it's not only going to happen with any N sounds and M sounds. It's not just that. I want you to take a look at this again. And I have to tell you that these features, there are no rules. So when we talk about assimilation, we say possible assimilation, right? Especially because it depends where you come from. So some specific accents. I can tell you that this one is something that I've seen Obama do quite a lot of times. So Barack Obama, he does pronounce this next one quite often. So if you get the word this, you would have it's an S sound, right, Bruno? This. Yes.
This.
Sorry. This, and then you have ear there, right? But again, you're not going to pronounce this. You remember that sound from Bruno's lesson, the long sh sound?
Say
So
yes,
you go,
everybody.
yes, so it's going to go, yes, this ear. This year. So we have 10 presentations this year, and that's what it becomes, right? I particularly like this one. This is one of those that I use. Again, you may be a Brazilian teacher who does not pronounce this way. You could say this year, which is okay, right? It would still be connected. I have to tell you one more thing, which is you see that the previous sound is changed before of the upcoming sound. So we call this regressive assimilation. All right. And now we can go on to the next one. And this is one that I think us Brazilian teachers, we do a lot. And I think that many of you already teach your students how to do that. Maybe you just didn't know the name. So when you look at this, let's look at this first one. Now read it in your mind. How would you pronounce that sentence? How would you ask that questions? Would it be something like, would you like or would you like? I believe it would be the second, right? So would you like another one? So again, if you get the word would, if you write it, transcribe it, would be would. And then you have you, right? But when you put it together, you see that the sound of D is changed together with this. So it becomes one sound. It becomes would you. So in this case, you're actually changing two sounds into one, which means different from the previous case, we're going to call it coalescent assimilation, right? We have more cases. So if you take a look at this one, and I think I saw something. I think it was a movie with Anthony Hopkins the other day, and he's a Welsh actor, and he pronounces it just like that in that case. But I think it's Bruno, you would agree with me with that. Like I think Brazilians do pronounce it the same way, right?
Would you?
Would you?
Would you
Yeah,
like?
I believe all of us,
I believe most of us, or at least,
most of
yeah.
us,
Would
most of
you?
us.
Mhm.
Same thing's gonna happen in could you. So it would actually be the same sound. Could you? Could you do it? Could you do it? Right? Going into the next one. This one's also very interesting. Another sound. Oh, yes, I should remind you of something. So we had a D sound, we have a J sound, and we have a J sound. As you can see, we use the J in this one, right? Going into the next one, if you have the word just, it's going to be phonemic. If you transcribe it, that didn't look pretty. Next one, just. If you transcribe it, it would look like that. And then you have you. But when you say it again, they are going to look like this. So do you remember this sound? The ch as in chow. That's what happens. So read the sentence. It's going to be just you, please. Just you, please. Right? I really like this one. I think it's also very common. Right? But again, it is okay if you say just. It would actually be difficult. I don't think I could pronounce just you. Just. It's difficult. I would just pronounce just you. Easier. But again, not a rule. And now we move to the one that I find maybe the most interesting one, because it's something that every teacher teaches. When you're teaching simple past, you're always going to teach your students that I believe most of us would do. We would teach them, oh yeah, some of the regular verbs are pronounced with the D. Some of them are pronounced with the T in the end. But there is a rule for this, right? So let's take a look at these two past tense verbs. We have moved, and passed. So which one is pronounced with the D sound? Which one's with the T? So one more time, moved and passed. So phonemically would be moved, long U sound, moved, D sound, and in the other one, it would be yes, passed, with the T sound. The reason is, remember from if you remember from Bruno's lesson, the V sound has voice. So if you put your hand here and say v, you're gonna feel some vibration because there's voice there. Now, if you do the same with the S sound, you're gonna see that there's no, it's just air. Both of these sounds are called fricative sounds because there's friction in the articulators. Basically, you can feel some vibration in your lips. But further than that, I can tell you that one of them is voiced and the other is not. So when you look at the V sound, it is voiced. When you look at the S sound, it is unvoiced. And because of that, what's going to happen is that the D sound, which is an alveolar sound, has voice, so moved. And the T, but the T has only air. It's not voice. So because of that, you have an S, so you're going to pronounce the T. You can see that in other verbs, for example, like.
I believe, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe we can pin this down as a rule, so that when you have the voiced sound, it not indicates, but it asks for a voiced sound after
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's unvoiced, it asks for an unvoiced, because I was looking at your other examples, like if you scroll up a bit.
Absolutely.
So for example, just
Yes.
you get the sh, because the sh is unvoiced, just like the T. right?
Just like
In
the T.
could you get the j because of d. Big d is voiced and then j
Mhm.
is voiced again. So we have a pattern there, right, for this
We do.
assimilation.
We do.
Mhm.
We could pin this down to a rule. I agree,
It probably
Bruno.
has its exceptions, right? But it
But
seems
that's
a
the
good
thing.
rule of thumb.
I can't really think of an exception for this one, especially if we're talking about this,
Mhm.
right? I think we could say that this is a rule. I
Mhm.
can't think of any example in which this wouldn't happen right now. So
Mhm.
if you look at the K sound, which is the k sound, which is an affricate sound, but again, it's only air, it's unvoiced, and then you have the
The T
sound.
sound. Like,
So air
Mhm.
again, affricate sound again, and then you have the sh sound, fricative sound, sh, only air again, and all of them will be followed by a T sound. Yes, I believe we do have a rule here. So after the k sound, also a T. Yes, interesting, right? And this
Yeah.
is gonna be
And,
useful
and
if
especially for individual words, for isolated words like that, I think we're on the safe side if we say it's a rule with a couple exceptions. For connected speech, as you were saying, it's optional, right? So if you
yes.
don't connect, if you don't
Mhm.
use the feature of connected speech to connect the two words, it's not going to happen, right? So not a rule.
And
Yeah.
yes. And I should tell you that the name of this, you see that the sound changes in the end because this is not a case of assimilation. The sound is what it is, but in this ones you have assimilation. So here we have cases of progressive assimilation because the previous sound changes the next sound, right? Bruno, I think we can go move on to the next one, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Next case, and this is going to be a little shorter, I believe. Well,
Mhm.
before I give you the name, I would like you to read this sentence in your head. How would you pronounce? I know you were thinking about doing this. I want you to read like this. I would like you to read like this. So don't use the any contraction. So say it in your head. Did you pronounce I am? I am happy. I am happy. Yes. So when you look at that, the word I, let's transcribe it. I, and then you have am, am. But something happens right here, right? You have a sound that is not supposed to be there. I am becomes I am. So this little E sound. Remember that case of university, that sound, which is actually a semi-vowel, it's not a vowel. It just gets in the middle of the between two words, right? We call that, let me make it smaller, it's too big, intrusion. So they are intrusive sounds. Well, there are three possible intrusive sounds. They are the E sound, the R sound, and the W sound. Let's take a look at some examples. When you look at the first case here, read it in your head.
Walter, if you
Yes.
allow me, just a short correction. The y
Mm,
sound,
mm,
right? Not the
yeah,
e sound. Yeah.
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 I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on.
The E sound would be this. Thank you, Bruno. Yes, the yeah. Well, when you look at the sentence, I'd like some pie and chips. I'd like some pie and chips. So if you look at the word pie, and then you have and, um, I don't want to give spoilers about another feature that we have next week, but something will happen to this end, right? Should I, Bruno? Should I give any spoilers or not?
I think you're gonna have to because
I'm gonna
when you
have to.
join
Yeah.
them,
Well,
yeah.
so the end is gonna become end. just like that. But then again, you have pie and chips. So it gets in there one more time. Then we have
And
another
if you
one.
say it again, you see that we don't even do the D sound at the end,
Yes,
right? It's
it
pie
gets out of
and
there.
chips.
Yes,
Mhm.
which is another one of the cases that we have for next class or the one next week. But again, with spoilers, I'm not going to mesh, I'm not going to go through those right now. All right, we'll mention the next week. Well, one more. She ate it. She ate it. So she, and then you have again. She ate it. I'm going to transcribe the entire sentence here. She ate it. She ate it. Again, it's in there. Now we move on to a different one. So if you pronounce the word go phonemically, right? And then you have away, away. You have the a sound, away, right? But say it fast. When you say it, just like, please go away. But if you say it fast, it's going to be, please go away, go away. What sound do you hear here in the middle? Is it this one? Go away, go away. Believe so, right?
Yeah,
Then
and if
one
you
more.
teach young learners, this will remind you of go away, scary monster, go away.
That is
Right?
great. That is great. Well, for the next one more time, we have another case of go. So it's going to be go over. It's going to become go over, go over, go over it again. Right. And yes, I'm not going to give spoilers because this sentence could be used for something else that we're going to see next class. Right. So I'm not going to go in there. But then again, just so we transcribe it, go over. Then again, there are different ways if you're transcribing it to like versions of English. If you're talking about British English or American English, this could change the way you transcribe it, right? One more case, do it, do it, do it. So do, and then you have it. What sound do you hear in the middle? Do it, do it. Again, after the O sound is that you hear a W. Do it, do it. And now we get to another case, which I gotta say that I never use, right? And then that thing about it's a possible case of intrusion. It doesn't have to be a rule, right? When you have some specific sounds, there's going to be a case of a different intrusive sound, a different intrusive phoneme. When you look at the word law, phonemically, it's going to be law. And then you have and then you have order. But when you say it fast, and this is, I believe this would be something very American. Bruno, would you agree with
British,
me?
actually.
Is
It's
it
for
British?
it's for non-rhotic variants.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Lord.
yes. Yes. It's actually something so subtle. I don't think it's something that like I remember studying this. I don't think it wouldn't be something that I would just pick up, right, from listening to a native speaker. But the thing is, it becomes law and order, law and order. It's quite a bit difficult to use it, but there is an R in there,
Yeah,
right? Let's look
Lauren,
at
right?
law and order.
Lauren order.
Yes.
It's weird.
Yes, it's a weird one. Yes, and then you have saw. So you see that again, there is a repetition of sounds in there, right? So, it's what I saw over there. It's what I saw over there. I wouldn't pronounce it. I would just say it's what I saw over there. But it is a case. So again, saw over there. And I believe that was the last case. Just so you you might want to write this down. These are the sounds that will precede intrusive sounds. So the sound, the schwa sound, the very short, not stressed, and the sound, long sound. Those are sounds that will well, usually you're going to have two vowel sounds, and then you have intrusion in the middle between them, linking the two sounds. Bruno, I believe that's it for today's lesson. Are you there?
Go back with your screen.
Sure.
I'd like to comment because when you're talking about the intrusive ones, can you go back to any example of the intrusive? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She ate it, for example. Yeah, pie and chips. This one is very physical, right? Because when you finish the word pie, if you teacher who's listening to us, if you pay attention to your mouth, you're in the E position, right? So pie.
Bruno, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's just that we can't see you right now. The camera
you cannot.
Let
me. You will see me.
Okay.
Show self view.
Because maybe you're.
Oh, I kicked the camera. Different. Okay. Yeah.
It's live, right? It happens. Right? Yeah. Maybe you're trying to show that with your lips.
Yeah. So when you finish the word pie, you're in the E position, pie, right? For you to move from the E to A, you glide, and you will undoubtedly, if you pronounce these two words together, you will have to go through the Y sound. So it's pie and chips. The only way of not pronouncing this intrusion, in my very personal opinion, is if you pause. Because if you don't pause, it's impossible. You move through it. So pie and chips. The articulators go through the Y to open to the N sound. And again, in the W intrusive, can you go there? Go away. So you got go, your lips are rounded, right? Very rounded. And then for you to move from rounded lips in U to the open away, your mouth will away. Your lips will
they automatically do it.
Yes,
they automatically do it.
Way. And again, the only way of you not pronouncing the intrusive w, in my very personal opinion, is if you pause, go away, because then you kill the glide, right?
Yeah.
And what I never understood, and I've had this conversation with 3 different pronunciation experts, whom I will not name right now, but if you go to the intrusive the intrusive R sound, I don't understand how that happens. Because for you to go from law and loin, your tongue doesn't go through the R sound. Because the R sound, the retroflex R, you have to curl your tongue and point it towards your throat, right? So it's very tense.
It's actually more difficult to pronounce it than not to.
It is.
But as you said,
explain that in terms of the rule of minimum effort.
But yeah,
right.
That's certainly a good question. But here's the thing. Don't you think that it has to do with the accent itself, where it comes from, like from being British? Because the R's in British English they're just like they're so open.
Yeah, this would be raw, right?
Like Lauren.
It would be Lauren order. Yeah. But then again, it's the same symbol for rat, for example, in British accent, American accent, whatever, right? So it's a ra. So sorover. It's so weird. and so much more. Not weird. I'm sorry. If
It's
you
it,
speak it,
it
it's
is a
nice.
bit,
It's
isn't it?
fine. It's beautiful English, but it seems to me, because all the other ones, when we're talking about the movement of the mouth, it's impossible. So it's uh not it's consequential. The intrusive ya and the intrusive wa are consequential. The intrusive r, the r, seems to me that it is conscient. It is a conscient addition to the words.
Then let me ask you one thing. Out of all of these cases that we saw in this lesson, which one blew your mind when you learned it?
To be very honest, when you were showing the very first part related to spelling, I had never thought of that. In spelling, I've never seen it that way, and I'm definitely going to use that to teach my students in the future. Thank you. This is
No
it's
problem.
visual pronunciation. It's great. But the tem presentations, it's interesting, right? So the following sound affects the sound that comes before, because we're as millennials, we're too anxious to produce both sounds, and then we're already pronouncing the next sound. We're already thinking of the next sound when producing the first sound. It's insane. Pronunciation is beautiful.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things, we actually talked about this before. You know, that kind of thing that your student comes, a student just gets to class. Yeah, let's say this student traveled. He went to the US, he went to Australia, wherever. And then he's like, well, I traveled and I couldn't understand people. And then why? And they will ask you, and some of them, they actually go to schools, ESL schools out there, and they go to school and they say, I understand my teacher, but I don't understand people talking. I don't understand the TV. And I think these are the things that actually make a difference in your understanding native speakers, right? Despite not using them, but actually being able to recognize those things, right? Like maybe you're not going to use the law and order, but well, actually this time it kind of came out like it came off naturally this time, you see.
Law and order. Yeah.
But like being able to recognize these things, and it makes a difference. I think it makes a difference.
And Scott Thornbury sides with you on that. He writes, I won't remember which book, but I used this in a presentation some time ago, that teaching the value of teaching connected speech is not really in teaching students to produce it, but actually to know that they exist, so that they're able to understand when being talked to by people who use connected speech. Because using features of connected speech does not make you more intelligible. Quite the contrary, right? The more connected your speech is, the less likely you are for that people will understand you. So, for example, imagine you're talking to someone who's learning Portuguese, or whose mother tongue is not Portuguese, and we say things such as dentro da bolsa, right? So tá dentro da bolsa is much more difficult to understand than
like vambora.
Está dentro da bolsa, right? Vambora, right?
Yes.
Que você quer? Que você quer? Right? So o que você quer is much easier to understand than que você quer.
But right? I actually, I think it was Penny Ur. I watched something. I think she was, I don't remember if it was IATEFL. It was some conference, but and she was talking about intelligibility, and she mentioned something which is sometimes it depends where you are, but like I think in her case it was British people. Like there's somebody who's a foreigner, and he wants to say like he gets in a cab and says, "Can you take me to the police station?" And they were like, "Huh?" It's like they're
Really?
trying not to understand you, right? I was like, police station. So you have to pronounce it
That's
together,
interesting.
otherwise.
Uh-huh.
And I have to tell you that I've seen people do that in Canada. Like, what's so difficult? I think it's clear enough.
Uh-huh.
And they and people who had like very good pronunciation, very clear pronunciation,
Mhm.
and still had some trouble being understood.
Mhm.
Like, and then it kind of makes me question it a little,
Mhm.
right?
Well,
But then
yeah.
again, it depends where you are, the people you're talking to.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Mhm. Yeah. And
yes.
crazy thing is, pronunciation teaching can actually help students develop their listening skills. Would you look at that? Right.
Totally. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
am
this is
I
probably a spoiler for the last session. Right.
and there's something else, because I'm actually looking forward to talking about teaching, and then we
Mhm.
get to those things in future courses. Then I think there will be a lot to be said
Mhm. Mhm.
about that. Bruno, do we have a wrap?
I think it's a wrap. Anything else?
Not that I can think of right now.
Yeah. Do you want some spoilers for the next session so that people know what to expect?
Well, for the next session, we have two, maybe three, if we have time.
Mhm.
We're gonna take a look at some things that we kind of mentioned it today, like it's, again, sounds that are changing
Mhm.
because of the law of least effort, because you're trying to say things in the easiest way possible, and the other one I cannot tell right now because I will give you spoilers if I
Okay.
there's no way. Like, I can't. I'm
All right.
sorry.
All right. Well,
All
fantastic
right.
session, Walter. Very,
Yes.
very informative and somewhat
Thank
entertaining
you.
as well. It's fun.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's always entertaining, right? Like
it is.
we're having a hell of a nice time doing the with the channel. I am.
Absolutely. Me too.
Yes.
So, good night, everyone, or good evening, or
Yes,
good
well,
afternoon.
it's kind of early, but have a good night. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like our content. Give us a like if you can, and we're gonna see you in the next lesson next week.